we had the national championship. Obviously, the big lead up to it was, we were a house divided. Notre Dame coming up short against Ohio State.
Anyway, that's enough. I'm done talking about the national championship. I'm depressed enough. So, with that being said, we are Updog Sports Talk. Hello, and welcome to Updog Sports Talk. My name is Matt Miller. Joining me today with a fancy new hat is Justin McGovern.
Hey, what is up? We are excited for another episode here today. The football season is beginning to wind down. We only have 3 football games left. College football is now done, but we're going to be here to wrap up the college football season that was. Talk about, we'll be talking about each team here later in the off season, but for right now, we're gonna wind down here talking about the championship game quick, talk about the NFL playoffs, and then a sport that you should be paying attention to now that college football's over, college basketball.
I thought you were going to say MLS.
Nope.
Here at Updog Sports Talk, we pride ourselves on standing up for the little guy. When we founded this channel, it was because ESPN focused on LeBron, the Cowboys, and back then the Patriots. Now they focus on LeBron, the Cowboys, and Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. We, however, like to talk about, the Buffalo Bills every now and then.
Every once in a while.
The Jacksonville Jaguars every now and then. Both the New York teams every now and then. We'll talk about some FCS.
Those get talked about a little bit much anyways.
Point is, we talk about teams good or bad. Today, how about you kick us off?
Well, we had the national championship. Obviously, the big lead up to it was, we were a house divided. Unfortunately, Matt, you were on the losing end of that with Notre Dame coming up short. Notre Dame coming up short against Ohio State. So yeah, it's kind of just, winding down what this game was. It ended up being a pretty exciting game. Notre Dame made a run for it there at the end, but obviously the big pass to Jeremiah Smith helped Ohio State clinch it. Obviously we saw, maybe the Notre Dame defense just kind of looked a little wide-eyed at the beginning because of Ohio State's skill talent or whatever it was, but Ohio State scored on the first 4 drives, and then it kind of felt like Notre Dame's defense got acclimated to them after that point, but it may have been just too late.
The 2 things I want to say. Injuries took a toll for Notre Dame, and I said in preseason that the national championship is Ohio State's to lose. They made it an interesting season by barely, and I say barely, sneaking into the playoff just because they were a 2-loss team. They were favored to win the Big Ten and favored to get into the playoff and actually favored to win all of it. And kudos, they had a good run in the playoff. Notre Dame had a good run too, but fell up a little short.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic season for Notre Dame. Ohio State definitely an adventure. Ryan Day's redemption is definitely a great story because, I mean, when the regular season ended, this program could not be in a worse, more toxic position. I mean, people were not happy. Ryan Day was in a very difficult spot, and all he ended up doing was rallying the team and going on one of the best 4-game stretches in college football history, which obviously we knew whoever would be the champion this year would be doing that automatically. But, all of a sudden now, Ryan Day came from someone that some people said was on the hot seat, to he is one of 3 national champion coaches actively coaching in college football now. So that is a
Yeah.
very exclusive club.
And 4 weeks
Um,
ago, every single fan for Ohio State was calling for his job. Every single one. And now he's your savior. So it like you guys make no sense to me. Like, congrats on your win. You can live it up for the next however many months until everyone kind of forgets. But nothing about your fan base makes sense. Now you're praising him. Now you're like, oh, is he okay after that golf cart crash?
the golf cart crash is very funny because, like, I mean, she just smoked that thing into the wall.
Yeah.
Like, how did
Everyone
she
was
think
like,
she
Papa
was going to
Day,
make that
Papa
corner?
Day. Yeah, she should get her license revoked after that.
I don't know. Like, from what I heard, though, it sounded like she was commanding things pretty well until that point. So,
Anywho,
some
moving on from that topic, Al Golden left Notre Dame to become the defensive coordinator of Cincinnati Bengals, which is funny because the city of Cincinnati is where he lost his job when he was the head coach of the Miami Hurricanes.
yeah. The funny thing is, I was actually at that game. His
So was my
last game.
coworker.
Yeah, I was actually at the game. Cincinnati won, obviously. It was very fun to go to. And the funny thing was, like, I remember, like we went to get dinner somewhere on the campus, and then we walk out from dinner, and I look up, and there's a plane saying, "Fire Al Golden, these things are getting expensive."
And now he's the defensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals. So
Oh, it's funny how things go for full circle sometimes.
I'm not, as a Notre Dame fan, I'm not entirely worried that Al Golden is leaving. He was a great coach. He did great things for the team, but Marcus Freeman is also a hell of a defensive mind. So even if he doesn't find like an elite defensive coordinator, I feel like he, after a couple of shaky games, he would take over the play calling for the defense and mold it into his. So I'm
Yeah,
not worried about that.
I
Everyone's like,
believe it.
oh, he's going to take the job to become the Bears. And then like 2 weeks later, Ben Johnson announces that he's the Bears head coach.
Yeah, I think he's going to do a good job making the hire, though. I mean, obviously did good this year hiring Mike Denbrock as the offensive coordinator. That definitely helped the offense evolve a lot.
Did you know that Denbrock was the offensive coordinator of
I,
Cincinnati
yep.
when
Oh yes, he
and
did.
while Freeman was there?
Yeah. So a little bit of ties there. Yeah, I mean Notre Dame played well. If you really look at it, Notre Dame stopped themselves on all the drives that they got stopped. The second drive of the game was a holding penalty that brought them too far back. Third drive of the game, it was
Two
third and
holding
medium. Huh? Yeah,
two
two
holding.
holding penalties. I mean, the first one was enough, though. Um, on the third drive, there was the mistimed snap. It was very clear that tight end was not looking for the ball, which tells me the center snapped it at the wrong time.
Yeah.
So that was another uncharacteristic mistake that we don't normally see. And then I personally did not like the fake punt decision. I think it would have worked if the guy had caught it, but I mean, everyone knew it was coming in that spot, and it was fourth and short, and you had converted a lot of short downs, especially in the first drive, by running like a Riley Leonard QB wrap. Like Ohio State could know that was coming and still could not stop it.
Yeah.
Why not just when you have that play in your arsenal, why not just go with that? And then obviously the last time they got stopped was the missed field goal.
My play calling blunder, I didn't mind the fake punt. I liked the aggression there. That was on the guy to catch a ball. That was actually a halfway decent pass.
Yeah. I mean, it was actually impressive, like
Or a
how well it worked,
non-QB.
even though how well it worked for non-QB, and the fact that everyone kind of knew it was coming in that spot.
My play calling blunder was you sent 7 people on a third and long when you have the momentum and you ran man. None of that makes sense. Why would you run man near the end of the game when you know it's a situation that they actually need to get a first down to maintain the game?
So, it based on the formation that Ohio State threw out there, it kind of and based on their past tendencies. Obviously in the past when Ohio State is in this difficult spot, they typically tend to turtle on offense. So the suspicion was that they were going to try to run the ball again.
Yeah, but
They
Justin,
lined up as much.
You know the saying. Last game of the year, Brent can't hold anything back.
And that was the case. I mean, I will say, I definitely did not see a bomb down the field happening there.
I mean, the announcers said it like the play before when they ran up the middle into a brick wall.
Mhm.
Anyway, that's enough. I'm done talking about the national championship. I'm depressed enough. There was more football the day before and 2 days before, actually, too.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot they played on Saturday too.
And we have our semifinal. Our conference championship games are set. The Chiefs take on the. You want to say it, Justin?
The Buffalo Bills.
And the Philadelphia Eagles host a familiar foe in the Washington Commanders.
So I guess we could talk about how they got to this point.
Commanders have been on a hot streak.
Yeah. So like the first game, the Chiefs and Texans, it was a little bit more interesting than we expected. The Texans kind of hung in there for a bit, but ultimately,
the refs got their
the
hands
offense.
in.
Well, the refs definitely screwed them in some spots, but the reason why the Texans lost was because
I will say not as like they normally do.
Yeah,
it didn't seem like they were just gifting it. They were just like, we'll give you a slight advantage here.
Yeah, but I mean, ultimately, the reason why the Texans lost that game is because their offense line sucked.
Yeah, which is surprising because they have like a top 10 offensive line.
They have one entering year, and I don't know what happened to it. Like, I don't know obviously, you kind of just need to dive into it a little bit more. But like, I don't know, some guys' age or injuries or something. I don't think it was injuries. I didn't really hear many injuries there, but they just weren't good this year. And that was honestly like, the Texans felt like a team that was building towards the Super Bowl. They made a lot of huge moves, and then the offensive line just regressed. And yeah, sure, they still made the playoffs, won the wild card game, but they didn't make a step forward because the offensive line took a step back.
I told you that C.J. Stroud wasn't going to have as good of a season as he did as a rookie.
Yeah,
I said that from the beginning.
Sophomore slumps can hit for sure, but I mean, again, it was kind of hard for him to operate because he didn't have protection up front.
This past game wasn't his fault at all. He played his heart out.
That's how it looked a lot of the season, though.
He was also down his two main receivers. Offensive line didn't block for Mixon or him, and then the defense held strong, but they broke a couple times.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, though, they definitely have some dogs on the defense, so it'll be fun to see that kind of continue to develop. But yeah, Texans, they're going to need to figure out the offensive line. Now, I guess we can move on to the second game here, which was the thriller and the upset of the weekend.
I wouldn't say it's an upset because the Bills had a higher seed.
No. I'm talking about the next. I'm talking about we're in order of the games in the order that they happened. So this would be Commanders upsetting the Lions.
Oh yeah, that was a huge upset. Commanders came in hot. Everyone thought they were going to lose in the first round, and then Jaden Daniels himself, and just ice in his veins. Nothing bothers him. Told everyone this year that Jaden Daniels was a dog. No one believed me until the second half of the season. Yeah, and they're about to go to the Super Bowl, unless Sirianni and Barkley and
they have a bit of a tough challenge to get there. But yeah, Jaden Daniels just doesn't seem to realize that reaching the Super Bowl is hard. He's just unfazed by the moment and just continues to make excellent throws. The Lions did not have any sort of solution to stop him. Like he
You,
just kept the offense going the
did
whole
you
entire
know?
time.
Did you know that this Commanders team and the 2021 Bengals are nearly identical in
It feels like it.
everything, dude? I one of the radio personalities here in Cincinnati posted this really long Facebook post with all the stats that like comparing each other. And if they're not the same, dead same, they're like within a couple of hundredths of a point away in like almost every category.
Crazy.
Like,
Absolutely crazy.
yeah, it's that's why I think they're going to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. It's exciting to watch. Like, and guys like, Scary Terry is becoming more of a household name. He was saddled back by poor quarterback play for his entire career. And now, like, he's getting his chance to shine with the top quarterback. So that's been a lot of fun to see. And, I mean, I think everyone's just kind of learning about this team as they go. And it's a very fun ride so far. A very fun ride.
Do you think it's
Um,
Dan Quinn's leadership or Cliff Kingsbury's play calling for the Commanders?
I think it's a little bit of both. Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury's been actually doing a pretty good job with the play calling though.
I think
Um,
I think Jaden Daniels is the type of quarterback that he's like always wanted to coach, but then
yeah,
like he like didn't quite have the exact matchup athletically that he wanted. Like Caleb Williams probably could have done this, but he's not as fast as Jaden Daniels. So Jaden Daniels can take off for 50 yards down the field untouched. Whereas Caleb Williams will probably get like 20 yards down the field and have to slide.
yeah.
Like 30-yard
It's
difference. Like passing the ball, he was throwing darts, dude.
yeah. It's crazy how fast he is. Like you don't realize how fast he is, and then he just takes off, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, here he goes. He's got
Yeah.
an open lane and 20 yards. Um, but yeah, impressive game for them for the Lions. I mean, this was very weird because, like, on one hand, I really enjoy watching the Commanders do their thing. On the other hand, it actually hurt me to see the Lions go down like this.
I know. And for me too.
Jared Goff turned into a pumpkin, which brings me back to my original point years ago, where I asked on this podcast, are we sure the Lions want to saddle themselves with Jared Goff as their quarterback and think that he can get them to the Super Bowl? I'm starting to wonder again, is that question need to be brought up again? Because I mean,
You're
Goff
just a
was
Goff hater. So
he threw
let me
four
let,
interceptions.
right, but one of the interceptions, there was a blatant unnecessary roughness penalty that they didn't call. And then like a couple of them were overthrows
Wasn't
because
that
he's
the one that was after the interception that happened?
yeah, but it
They
would have been
got
a touchdown.
they
They
got
had
basically
them. They
us.
still had the momentum on defense. It was
Yeah,
right. It was that play that kind of gave the Commanders extreme momentum. But then you put Goff in a situation where he has to start, like the receivers weren't open. He had to start forcing throws just to get it down the field. So you can't necessarily put all the blame on Goff. Some of it was play calling, some of it was clock management. Yeah, Goff has the stats, but like he's also a main reason why they got to the point that they have. He's at this point, I would actually put him if like very close to their best quarterback they've ever had.
this is true, but obviously, Lions outside of Goff and Stafford have a pretty dubious history at quarterback.
Yeah, but he was a first round pick for a reason. He was put in an LA system that Sean McVay just liked to take shots down the field the whole time, and that's not his MO. And then he gets to Detroit where didn't have a whole lot of weapons when he first got there. And they told him be patient. Well, he was patient. They gifted him a bunch of weapons and they're playing his style of offense. It just turned out that the Commanders were the little train that could, and the defense couldn't stop anything either. So you also have to point the finger at the defense.
Yeah, which obviously, we do have to grant them a little bit of an exception because injuries really took their toll there.
Yeah, was it
Um,
21 players on IR or something like that?
yeah. And the reason why, we feel even worse is like the Lions window may have already shut. With both coordinators gone, they got to figure that whole thing out. Um, they're in a difficult spot now. Yeah, coordinators are gone. They're just left to Jared Goff. I don't know what the future holds for them,
I think they'll
especially in
be
a tough
okay.
division.
I think they may take a step back next year, and depending on what happens in Minnesota, Minnesota may run away with the division. But if Minnesota doesn't figure it out, then it's between the Packers and the Lions.
Yeah, and it's just it really did feel like this could be the Lions' year, and had to be the Lions' year, and this is it. They ended up empty out of this whole thing.
Yeah, it's disappointing, but at the same time, I mean, this is the best streak of seasons they've ever had. So like
Yeah,
the entire franchise seems to have been lifted up a notch. So like they have a higher floor now, I would say. I don't think they're going to go 2 and
yeah.
14 or 2 and
Oh no,
15 for
definitely
a
not.
long time.
Definitely not. Um, but yeah, it's just gonna be interesting to see. Like, are they gonna find themselves, toiling around, falling short in the playoffs for a few years like the Bills did? That's gonna be the question that we have to wonder. But,
Probably.
um, yeah, yeah, it feels like that might be the future, but who knows?
I
Maybe
think
they'll figure something out. But
I think if they end up getting like filling a couple of needs on defense, I think that they could do it. Because as long as they can stop people, play calling or not, I think that offense can keep the ball moving. Like I
yeah,
think whoever's calling the shots can keep that offense moving. The defense is what worries me in the
yeah.
future.
Obviously, it helps. They do still have one of the best offensive lines in football. So that definitely is a valuable aspect of their game.
Yeah.
Um, so mentioning really good offensive lines, shall we go to the Snow Bowl in Philadelphia?
Dude, that was a hell of a game. I wore my Rams jersey over in my father-in-law's house, and he's an Eagles fan. So kind of had to poke the bear a little bit. And he's like throwing shots at me, but he's the type of person that is like really superstitious with his team. So every time he sat down, that's when the Rams would start like going down the field and scoring. So he'd get up and pace around and go do something real quick and come back. And then he pointed that out, and I was like, "Pop a squat." um, but no, that was a hell of a game. Saquon Barkley took that game over. The Rams stayed in it, which a lot of people didn't see like happening going into the game. And
Yeah,
Stafford was a couple feet high on that last pass. Otherwise, they could have. They probably could have gotten the end zone.
yeah. The ending when the snow really started to come down was so wild because, like, we had the point where like Jalen Hurts got kind of injured a little bit. He was definitely hurt. Did not look right. Gets sacked in the end zone for a safety. And it's like, oh man, this game is spiraling out of control for the Eagles. The Rams might actually do this thing.
Yeah,
And then the snow came down harder. All of a sudden, fumble, and then it teetered in
you
the
could
Eagles' way.
you
And
could
the Rams,
obviously tell who played in a warm weather city with a dome. Like
yeah,
at times, like Stafford fumbling that football. Uh,
mhm.
I think Kyron Williams fumbled as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was the first one. Was when Kyron Williams fumbled. Yeah, they just like it really unraveled for them pretty badly at first in the snow, and then after Saquon Barkley, dashed down the field for what felt like the game-winning touchdown, all of a sudden, I don't know like what got into them, but they're like, it's screw it. We're not going to worry about the elements anymore. We got nothing to lose. We're almost out of this game, and that's when they started marching down the field, and Yeah, they almost came back and stole this thing.
Yeah. Probably. Actually, we'll get to the best game. I was about to say it's the best game of the weekend, but I think the next game was better.
Yeah,
So the Buffalo Bills hosted the Baltimore Ravens in another snowy game. Not quite as heavy, but still pretty snowy.
just kind of kept a nice little coating on the field
Yeah.
throughout the game.
Both teams seemed to like you could tell the Bills just were ready to play. It took the Ravens a little bit of convincing to go a little bit, but
Yeah,
they got back into the game, and then at the end, Mark Andrews dropped the game-tying 2-point conversion.
yeah. It was very interesting to kind of watch how the Bills operate in this game because there was a lot of stuff they did that they could not afford to do against the Chiefs. Like, they took the 21-10 lead in the halftime and then seemed to just kind of go into protect mode a little bit on offense. They didn't want to commit a mistake or anything. They said stuff in the post-game press conferences, but you can kind of tell by the play calling. I thought they did that way too soon because they just about let the Ravens back in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, no, they did. They did not just about. They let the Ravens back in the game. They were a Mark Andrews drop from potentially, having to put the game once again their whole season in the hopes of a coin toss, which the Bills never want to do.
Yeah, but at least in the playoffs, both teams get a chance now.
Yeah, which is good.
But but the Ravens had all the momentum had they scored on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, that definitely was nerve wracking a little bit. And obviously the Ravens had the run game going at that point. They had worn them down. So protect mode a little bit too soon. If they do that against the Chiefs, they are going to be toast. Um, but obviously a very thrilling game, and the big thing was those turnovers. The Bills forced three of them. Um, Obviously, we could probably get on a huge discourse about the refs, but um,
Patrick
obviously,
Mahomes. Did you hear Patrick Mahomes said about the refs?
oh, what did he say?
Refs are not giving favorable calls to the Chiefs.
There are actually stats to back this up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here it was from Warren Sharp the other day. In the last 4 years of the playoffs, the Chiefs had less penalty yards than their opponents. So, obviously more yardage lost through the penalties in a +9 ratio. So 10 games, the Chiefs had less penalty yards than their opponent. Only one time did they have more. And then more or less penalties called. All 10 games, the Chiefs had less penalties called than their opponent. That is ridiculous.
Have you seen the interception stat?
The next best team is at +1, a +1 ratio.
Have you seen like the interceptions called back by penalty?
Oh, I'm sure that one's crazy. No, I did not see that one.
It was like 60 or 70 for Patrick Mahomes. You know who the next closest person was?
Who?
Josh Allen. You want to know how many got called back?
How many?
7.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And by the way, Matt, just more fuel for your fire here. Last in this list is the Bengals at -5 for yardage and -4 for penalty. Unfortunately for me, the Buffalo Bills.
They faced the Chiefs the most.
Yeah.
Past 4 years. Well, not the last.
Actually,
2.
probably not the Bills. Probably not in comparison. I think the Bills played them more, but
Not
the
the last
Bills,
4
by the
years.
way, are -2 in that department. So not so fortunate there. The amount of calls that go against the Chiefs in the playoffs compared to the regular season is a lot less.
Yeah. Well, on that depressing note, we can just the Final Four will be great. I do not want to see the Bills or the Chiefs win solely for the fact that your two teams cannot win a championship in consecutive months. That would be just BS. Mine have never won. None. No sport. Ever.
Oh, man.
Not my lifetime, at least.
All right. But, I mean, maybe next year's your year.
Shut up, Justin. But
maybe,
yeah,
maybe each year could be an Updog year. So this year's my year, then next year's your year.
this was supposed to be my year.
It was close. Well, for one of them, anyways. Not so much for the Bengals.
But moving on to a slightly less depressing sport, college basketball.
Yeah. College basketball is a lot of fun. So I think kind of just to get us started here, if you haven't seen us before, we should probably go into where our allegiances lie and, obviously like what college basketball we typically watch. So Matt, I'll kind of let you go first.
I pretty much only watch UC, big games, tournament games, and then I follow along with stats here and there. So I know what's going on from things around the league, but pretty much I only watch UC and I follow along with Notre Dame like once a month.
Yeah, so I have a lot more teams than you, because I follow all the teams that my wife used to work in athletic training for a high school, and a lot of those athletes now are in college basketball. So I typically follow along with how all those teams are doing. So right now, I very much pay attention to VCU, UC as well, and then the Miami Redhawks. Obviously, we're BG alums, so I try to root on BG basketball, even though we're still going on. Um, since the 1960s, since we made the NCAA tournament, and then I watch a ton of mid-major basketball. Obviously with the power conference teams, if they have a decent year, win 20 games or whatever, usually they make the tournament. So, the mid majors are really the ones here that are fighting for their season each week. So it's very intriguing to see those. And those bracket buster teams, the ones that seem to develop throughout the year, those are the ones that I just take in. I am like, all right, I want to see this team play. The conferences that are a lot of fun to talk about, we'll be covering those in a moment. Usually I end up watching like a lot of their games and stuff. And obviously Big Sky basketball as well. I really enjoy. So yeah, diving in here. How about the top teams right now? So our best teams at the moment, we have Auburn is just a complete wagon at the moment. I think they only have one loss. They are ridiculously good. Iowa State is also a wagon. The funny thing is, both those teams played in Maui. Actually played in the Maui Invitational against each other. There's a lot of that went on at the Maui Invitational, by the way. Duke has their best team since Zion Williamson was there. And actually, Cooper Flagg is the biggest star in college basketball since Zion Williamson. So
Yep.
this is a very similar team. Now, I personally still wish that Cooper Flagg had stayed home and went to the Maine Black Bears and got them to the tournament for the first time ever. But alas, he went to Duke.
Yeah,
And
Cooper
is
Flag,
still
dude, is going to be the first overall pick next year. I don't think it's really a
don't without a doubt. Like he is the next big star, off of the NBA. But for right now, college basketball fans get to enjoy him. See him kill it at Duke. Michigan State and Tom Izzo, they had their fastball back. Michigan State's been looking really good, potentially the best team in the Big Ten right now. They too played in Maui.
Yeah, I think they had fallen off for the past handful of years, and then back with a vengeance.
Yeah, they are after it this year. It's been a lot of fun to see. Now what does not feel right is that the SEC is having a ridiculously good year.
Yeah.
There's been a perception that the SEC has been dominant in football. That was proven to not be the case. But basketball is a different story. They are actively dominating the sport right now. They have tons of good teams right now. I really, for the sake of time, I won't list through all of them, but a lot of their teams are really good right now.
They have
And
8 in the top 25.
8 in the top 25. I think one of them, Georgia, just dropped out.
Yeah.
So they've been ridiculously good this year. I mean, it's a banner year for that conference. We were used to seeing the ACC operate like this, but the ACC has kind of dropped off a little bit. It's been the SEC. It's been killing it.
You know who
Um,
I'm enjoying seeing in the top 25 again?
who?
Marquette.
I know. It's fun
I
seeing
like,
them up there.
dude. I was a fan of them when D Wade was there, like a long time ago. Um, and then I feel like they really haven't. They've had like 1 or 2 years since then where they were like in it. Like you could tell that they had a squad, and I feel like they're back.
Yeah.
So
They
Justin,
did.
is Marquette back?
They're looking good. I mean, they had a 2 seed last year. They had a 2 seed last year as well, so they were looking pretty good. Back-to-back years here. Now, obviously, the big thing that Marquette faces is tournament success has not exactly been kind to them. Shaka Smart has really not had a lot of luck in the tournament since his Final Four run at VCU. So that will be definitely
And
something they'll
didn't
have to answer down the line.
he
But
went to Texas, and didn't he go somewhere after Texas before he went to Marquette?
no, he went to Marquette to Texas.
Okay.
But
I guess I'm
obviously,
making up headlines.
obviously he's done a good job there in his time at Marquette, and it's definitely fun to see them back towards the top of the Big East. The other team in the Big East, obviously, when we talk about Big East basketball, we have to talk about UConn because they're the back-to-back champs. But is their three-peat chances in danger right now?
I would say so. They have not impressed me at all. I mean, like they only have 5 losses, so if they went out, they could still get like a pretty high seed. But like they had not been playing the same basketball they did last year.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I know, the year before, not last year, but the year before, UConn did kind of play a little sloppy and got a 4 seed and then plowed through everyone. But I don't know. There's just something that feels different about this. They went to the Maui Invitational. They went 0-3 in Maui. And by the way, we mentioned all those good teams that played in Maui. None of UConn's losses were to any of those teams, and they went 0-3. If I'm recalling correctly, they lost to Memphis, they lost to Colorado, and then they lost to Dayton. So like it was a very weird stretch for them. And then even yesterday, while Dan Hurley was having yet another tirade against the refs, they went to overtime with Butler at home.
Tirade.
So tirade. Sorry.
I think there's a topic that coming up that we could just skip to now.
Yeah, I think we're ready for this one.
I think we are.
mentioning wild names in the coaching sphere.
Doug Gottlieb. ESPN. Is he still at ESPN?
No, I think it shows on Fox now.
Okay. Fox host and full-time Fox host and full-time Green Bay head coach. I don't know, one, how he can do that. I feel like that's a grueling schedule. And 2, why he would do that, because it sounds like a grueling schedule. And what do they have? Like 2 wins?
Yeah, only 2 wins. Yeah, it's not going well. He's attempting to do 2 full-time jobs.
I don't even want to do my one full-time job and this hobby. I mean, like, if I could be a head coach, I would love to be the head coach of Green Bay. If you're looking for a 2-win season, I will give that to you. I will find a way to win 2 games for you. So you can still pay me a lot less than what you're paying him, And I would be happy with a lot less salary.
Yeah, it continues to sink further. Like, I mean, probably the low point was, I think it was like a week or we were getting towards like Thanksgiving time. Before the Christmas season, he sent out this calendar that was like, basically around like Christmas time is like, lore calendar. Like, you're not even trying anymore. During that time, they lost to a Division II school.
Dang,
That was so bad. And the worst part is that Division II school, Northern Michigan, was led by someone who was actually came from Green Bay, came from his own backyard and led a Division II team over his team.
that's brutal.
Absolutely brutal.
But they were like a fringe team a couple years ago, weren't they?
Yeah, no, they went 18-14 just last year. And then their head coach, awesome name, Sundance Wicks, went to Wyoming. Um, so like, they were pretty solid. And now, you look at them this year. I mean, tonight is like the perfect example here. And allow me to look at the score real quick because it finally went. I think it went final a little bit ago. So they lost at home to IU-Indy. Actually, they got some garbage time points to keep it within double digits. IU-Indy was up by a lot throughout this whole game. IU-Indy was one of the worst teams. They used to be called IUPUI, but they just changed their name because the whole
Ooey pooey.
yeah, the Indiana, like, because it indicated like it was like a branch of Indiana and Purdue, and then for some reason they decided to break up their marriage of branch campuses, and Purdue got Fort Wayne, and Indiana got Indianapolis in the divorce. Apparently, at least it's what their names say. So it's Purdue, Fort Wayne, and IU Indy.
You know
Um,
their sign on campus still says IUPUI.
I figured, they haven't gotten that replaced yet. But they'll get around to it though. Um, but yeah, IU Indy was one of the worst teams in college basketball. They turned around and hired a Division II coach from the Indianapolis Greyhounds, and they have made very steady improvement this year. Like that was this game right here. This result is the perfect example of making a good hire versus making a bad hire,
Yeah.
and how that can change things. How on the road, a team that was dead last can just whoop on a team that was one of the better teams in the conference last year. Just like that.
You know, we need to get to curses.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll jump right into this. Heritage Bank Arena ruined the Cincinnati area basketball.
Heritage Bank Arena has been around since like the 50s or 60s here in Cincinnati. In the 70s, they held a Who concert. Everyone got slammed up against the doors. 7 people died. It was a whole thing. But it wasn't the main arena in Cincinnati at like even back then. They had to tear down Cincinnati Gardens for Heritage Bank Arena, then US Bank Arena back in the day, to even be relevant. That building has not been renovated since 1997. Prior to that, the building had not been renovated since it was built in like the 60s.
Yeah,
So,
and keep in mind, this is the only place in this area in town, and really anywhere that I can think of that exclusively serves RC Cola.
yeah. And they're the only venue like that that doesn't have a basketball affiliate, so they can hold neutral site games. Cintas has Xavier, Fifth Third Arena has UC, and then I don't know the sponsorship, but Dayton isn't too far. And I get and
Yeah,
NKU, but it has less seats than the other two combined. Well, of course, but like, you know what I mean. But Heritage Bank Arena is a terrible arena, and um, it's privately owned, but the owners want money from the city to redo it.
yeah, and
Go
obviously
figure.
it's not working well so far. Um, So Cincinnati and Dayton played this game on January 20th, um, or December 20th. My bad. And fortunes around Cincinnati basketball in the whole area. I'm even looping Dayton in here.
And
Has
NKU, you can include that too.
No, I'm talking about the Cincinnati area and including Dayton in the Cincinnati area has gone really far south. We'll start with UC here. They have been 3-5 since that game happened.
And they did just get done with a 3-game stretch in 7 days. And I think they were all road games. And they dropped all 3 games. I think they were still winless in Big 12 play, if I'm not mistaken. And
So 2 of the 3 wins were recent. They managed to take down Arizona State and Colorado.
Okay. So they're 2-5 in conference play or something like that, I think is what I saw earlier today.
Yes.
But UC is severely underwhelming. They had an extremely good non-conference like record. They beat Xavier for the first time in however many years. And then all of a sudden they just decide that they don't want anything to do with Big 12.
Yeah, the offense has been just very disappointing. They can't. They're one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the whole country, and they're not good for the foul line either. So they don't really have a way to, teams can pretty much pack the inside, and they can't really generate a whole lot of buckets at this point.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because all the guys that they recruited as guards and forwards were good from the 3-point line, and all of a sudden they're not great. So, like, I don't know if it's a Wes Miller thing or what, but like something's not clicking right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, the foul shots too are another thing where they're just, they're giving up points that they could be having.
And I don't think Xavier has played at Heritage Bank Arena this year, but they're even having a bad year.
Yeah, the funny thing was, even the teams that did not play there, only UC and Dayton played each other there. But it seems the curse has impacted all of the teams in the area.
Yeah.
Xavier has struggled a lot since then. Other than recently, they did upset Marquette on Saturday. But before that, Xavier had been struggling miserably, including a loss to Georgetown. Actually, tonight, they were threatening to reverse this because they had a big lead on St. John's. But with a minute left, they're now down 6 and poised to lose that game. NKU is 3-5 since Cincinnati and Dayton played the Heritage Bank Arena. Wright State. This is extended to the Horizon League. Wright State is 3-4. Ever since UC and Dayton played the Heritage Bank Arena. Actually, no, correction. They just played tonight and got blown out by Milwaukee.
So they are 3-5.
They are now 3-5. I probably should look and make sure NKU didn't play tonight too. No, NKU did not play tonight. So 3-5 for both NKU and Wright State. Dayton is 3-3, which we will touch a little bit more on their 3-3 stretch here in a moment, because that kind of goes into our next topic here, which is going to be A10 chaos. The only exception to this rule is the Miami Redhawks, who are currently rolling to start back play at 6-0.
Yeah,
congratulations to Miami.
Didn't Bowling Green just lose to not be undefeated? Were they undefeated?
No, Bowling Green was kind of they're Bowling Green is very much as middle of the pack MAC as you can get.
Yeah. So a lot of you are probably questioning why I'm talking about Bowling Green. For those of you who are new to the show, Justin and I are Bowling Green alums. We will fight tooth and nail to make BG relevant.
Yes.
And we count them as part of Cincinnati because, I mean, it's
and
just,
we are waiting. We are waiting for them to finally make the tournament.
Yeah. I don't think the men's basketball team was even good anytime we were there either.
So there was one year. It was the Chris Jans year. They were yeah, you'll see this story is a lot of fun. So they were very good that year. They ended up the number one seed in the MAC tournament, and then unfortunately they flamed out pretty early in the MAC tournament. And after that happened, he was saw grabbing butts at a college bar and got fired from Bowling Green.
Yep.
Obviously, now, as you know, Chris Jans is at Mississippi State, so clearly he has reemerged and done well.
He failed upwards.
Actually, he actually was a familiar place. It was New Mexico State. We'll get to talk about them in a little bit here, but New Mexico State is where he.
By the way, Mississippi State is 14th in the standings.
Yes. So they're actually doing really well with him, and he was at New Mexico State before that. In his last year at New Mexico State, they were the last team to beat UConn in the NCAA tournament. Still,
nice.
But anyways, that is how that's going. I mentioned, we'll touch on the A10 chaos. So yeah, Dayton's been a huge part of that. Dayton, St. Bonaventure, and a couple other teams entered A10 play looking like very solid at-large teams. Here's the thing about the A10 now. This conference loves to cannibalize itself. It does it every single year. Last year was finally the exception. Dayton kind of rose above the pack and managed to get an at-large bid. But typically, this conference in recent years, this conference used to put like 4 or 5 teams in the tournament every year. But in recent years, A10 just loves to sabotage itself. It's to the point now where the fans of teams in this conference are just ready to embrace it. And they're just waiting for that point in the year to come where all the top teams in the conference start losing to the worst teams in the conference. And they deem it, zero bid league is their running joke about it. It was very funny to find out that this corner of Twitter existed when that night happened, when Dayton lost to UMass. St. Bonaventure took a bad loss. I think who else? I don't know. George Mason lost to someone struggling. Like, just upsets galore happened in the conference to pretty much take everyone in the conference off the at-large bid radar at this point. So that's where hashtag zero bid league came in. And now it's just been pure chaos every week. Like yesterday.
You know what's funny? Before you get into your thing, do you know what's funny?
What?
The third best team in this in the A10 is the third worst team in the rankings for the A10.
The Duquesne Dukes.
No, I was going to say the George Washington Revolutionaries, but Duquesne's 9-10 overall.
Yeah.
George Washington is 13-6. and the only reason why they're 13-6 because they just took a loss to George Mason in a thrilling game.
Yeah, and actually, right now George Mason is on the top of the standings.
Yeah.
But yeah, Duquesne started the season 0-6. Definitely struggled with the retirement of their coach, and now they all of a sudden turned it on in conference play. St. Louis has, everyone's hero, Specs, on their team, but he was hurt he was hurt entering the season, aggravated injury in the first game, and St. Louis really didn't have their full arsenal of guys during non-conference play, which, destroyed their net ranking and everything. And then immediately, of course, they get them back and then turn it on in conference play.
Well, they just lost. Who'd they play? When was that? Saturday? They played someone on Saturday, and then I forget who it was, but the dude I wouldn't know how to pronounce the guy's name even if I remembered it. But he was going off on them.
Wait, I'm trying to remember which one it was. They have a really fun team. They're actually playing LaSalle right now. But yeah, their main guy, obviously Yeah, they lost to Richmond on Saturday.
Or no,
They won that game.
they
No.
won.
Matt,
They
quit
were
confusing me.
they were losing like the entire time.
But anyways, they have a really fun trio of Gibson, Giverson, Robbie Avila, and yeah. So like, why is last name blinking up? But anyways, yeah, they have a really solid team now. After struggling during the regular season, they don't have much depth outside of those three, which is another piece of the equation there. And so, like last night, there were four A10 games. All the teams on the road won those games. And before that, like, I mean, whole teams had like won like 75% of the conference games. So, like, out of nowhere, four road teams win. So it's just that kind of stuff. And then finally, this was the battle of teams towards the bottom of the conference. Um, the wildest game in college basketball was between UMass and Florida. This game featured 9 players getting fouled out of the game. One of the teams took 59 foul shots, which surprisingly was not an NCAA record, but definitely was a program record. I think it was close to an NCAA record. Like Fordham was playing walk-ons. Like, these are usually the guys that like you'll put in for a good feeling in like the last 2 minutes in like a blowout. No, they had to actually like set these guys into the game in third overtime and go, hey guys, go out there and make something happen. Because we don't have anyone else left because everyone else fouled out. And I mean, again, this game went to third overtime. And one of the reasons why it went to third overtime is because in first overtime, UMass is up 3 and fouled a guy taking a half-court shot.
So let me propose this to you. What if the NCAA decided, you know what, if a guy fouls out before overtime, he is not eligible for overtime. But if he's right on the cusp heading into overtime, everybody gets 1 extra foul to give per overtime played.
I don't know about that one. If I recall correctly, like they actually recently they did something because they want to reduce how many fouls people are taking. I thought they were talking about it. So if anything, they want less instead of more. A game like this will never happen again. So
Don't say never.
Well, that's true. After all, the record of players being fouled out in the game was 12, so it's happened before.
Yeah.
But that is what this conference has.
I miss the A10 days when Xavier was in it and they were like super rivals against Dayton.
Yeah. I know that rivalry. I miss that one a lot.
When the Big East was like really good.
Yeah.
At like every sport.
The stupid amount of teams in the basketball side.
Because they had the old Big East minus Xavier, and then they had the new Big East with like UC and UConn and Rutgers and Syracuse and all of them.
Yeah. It was crazy how many teams. Anyways, on to some top mid-majors to keep your eye on here. We'll kind of just list through these pretty quickly, but there's some, these are your teams that could potentially, bust some brackets. North Texas is looking pretty good. They're actually on my TV right now. They're really awesome home court. Watch the North Texas game just to even look at their home court because it's incredible. They have their logo on like the Texas outline in the middle, and it's very, very big. And then on, inside the box, they have like the Texas flag, but it's like, in North Texas colors, in green and white. But they're looking pretty good. They picked up some good non-conference victories. They have a couple close losses, but generally have maintained a pretty clean slate. They aren't quite on the at-large bid radar, but hopefully they can get there. The Northern Colorado Bears have been starring out of the Big Sky. They only have 4 losses this year. They have looked very, very good. They're a very fun team to watch. The Big West has a few fun teams.
Dude, I was just about to bring up UC Irvine. So before I get to that, I just want to say the Big West has 5 schools that have UC in front of their name. They also have 3 more schools that have Cal State in front of their name, and then they have a random Cal Poly. I feel like they could just drop the UC, the Cal State, and maybe Cal Poly can keep theirs, but like
Yeah.
But back to the topic at hand, UC Irvine, UC San Diego, which is different than San Diego State and San Diego. They're 2 really good teams right now.
Yeah. Yeah. UC Irvine has just a suffocating defense that has been a lot of fun. Them and UC San Diego have already played once at UC San Diego, and UC Irvine came out to win. UC Irvine actually has like a really good heat so far, other than one random loss to Duquesne. That they're very much on the at-large bid radar at this point. I'm really hoping they stay there. It would be really cool. I am rooting so hard for a multi-bid Big West.
That would be so
Give
good.
us 2 of these teams, please.
You know who else is doing really good? Shoot, I lost where they were at. The Marist Red Foxes.
Yeah. Yeah, Marist has been looking really good. I think they just lost their 3rd game recently. But they have been looking very, very solid so far. They definitely seem
in the MAC.
Yes. Yeah, they very much seem to be there well above the rest of the pack there. Very impressed with that team. Also, we go to the Missouri Valley. Bradley and Drake, both first names. Both teams look very, very good, though. Drake right now is very squarely in the at-large conversation. I think Bradley is not quite there at this point, but these are 2 very good teams that are very much starting to separate themselves on the top of the Missouri Valley, which the Missouri Valley is always a strong conference, but these 2 especially look really good. I'm really hoping for Drake to get that at-large bid just to hopefully make this a 2-bid league. But obviously the Valley always has a couple strong teams, and those are the 2 this year. And obviously, you look to the Mountain West, you're going to get good teams there. New Mexico is looking good once again. San Diego State's looking good once again. Utah State.
Oh, okay. You just took it.
Utah State is, I think I need to look back and see how many years in a row it is. Utah State has lost their head coach like 3 or 4 years in a row now. They bring in a new coach and just continue to succeed. And they're succeeding to a point where they get like a very good seed in the tournament. They hired their coach from Youngstown State this past year, and he managed to keep a lot of the roster around. And they've been playing very well. They've been in the top 25 pretty much most of the year. They're looking to get like a pretty high seed in the tournament at this point. I love watching this team a lot. And then finally, some conferences that are looking pretty good. The SoCon is very good. Stanford and Furman are the best overall records in that conference. But, I mean, whoever comes out of this conference is going to be dangerous in the NCAA tournament. The CAA looks really good. As always, they have a lot of good teams. Charleston leads the pack there. But William and Mary was the last undefeated team in that conference. They're a team that absolutely loves to hoist up threes. So, potential chaos team. William and Mary is a long-standing member of the Never Made the Tournament Club. So I'm really, really hoping they can make it happen this year. They have a team that could potentially do it. The Southland is led by McNeese State, but there's a lot of depth in this conference too. There's a lot of good teams.
You know who has the most depth?
Yes.
The SEC. When did they become a basketball conference? I feel like they're I know, haters. I get it. They had like a handful of teams at the top, but they're so deep right now.
Yeah, it is ridiculous.
There's 4 teams that are not really in the thick of it. They have how many did I say earlier? 8 ranked teams. They have like 3 other ones on the outside of the top 25. Texas and LSU are both 6-loss teams, but they're not much further behind them. So if either of them go on a run, we may see them in the top 25. At this point, it's pretty much just Arkansas and South Carolina that have no shot at doing anything.
Yeah, Arkansas, by the way, coached by John Calipari.
UK fans are screaming at that.
They're loving it. Yeah, John Calipari, old boy is struggling a little bit. The Arkansas entered the season with a lot of hype too, and then they have not lived up to it. But another conference that's ridiculously deep, looking at the mid-major level here, is Conference USA. There are only 10 teams in this conference, but 8 of the 10 teams are very much teams that can legitimately win this conference. Even the 2 that are at the bottom are not bad, but they're just a step below everyone. CMU Houston and FIU are too low at the bottom, but there's a lot of good teams here. Liberty entered conference play with only 1 loss. They looked really good. UTEP looks very good. New Mexico State is finally getting themselves back after, a lot of challenges, I should say, happened at that program after Christians left. So, New Mexico State is working their way back. They're looking pretty good. This conference is
UTEP
just
is
so good.
Out.
Yeah. This conference is just so good and so deep. Every single game right now, almost every game is a complete banger because all of these teams are so good.
We can get away from basketball. You want to introduce our new segment?
All right. Time for our new segment, which is our random question of the week. We look up a fun fact or just something that's a lot of fun to look up for college football. So we have a wheel here of questions and another wheel that picks out the team. So I'm going to go ahead and spin the wheel here, and we'll see what our question will be.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Share your screen so we can see.
It is weirdest opponent 1-loss record. And the team is going to be, this is a wheel with so many teams on it.
In the future, we will work on Justin sharing his screen. And maybe his computer going faster.
This is a big wheel, man. Oh, we're looking at UConn.
Nice.
All right. Let's go ahead and look at UConn football here.
That's going to be scary to look at.
Let's take a look here. Okay. UConn, they're 1-9 versus Navy. They're 2-0 against Baylor. That's random. They have losing records to every Big Ten team they played except Indiana. Let's see. A few MAC records. Let's see here. Oh, they're 0-4 against Ball State.
Nice.
That one's random. They're 1-0 against South Carolina.
Nice.
1-0 against Notre Dame. Sorry, Matt.
I feel like that was played like 80 years ago.
No, I think that was the Charlie Weiss era.
Oh, that makes sense.
They are 0-1 against Worcester High School in Massachusetts. 0-2 against Waterbury YMCA. Oh man. 1-8 against Williston Seminary.
Hmm.
1-8 versus Tufts.
Does it specify if it's college or high school or community or
Tufts, Massachusetts. Let's find out. Tufts, Massachusetts.
if Justin had better internet, this would work.
They have they're a primary research university. So, we're talking about nerds here.
Had to have been. You're a nerd.
Yep.
They had to have been like in the 1800s when they played.
Yeah. They're 1-4 against William and Mary. They're 1-6 against Brown University. 3-8 versus Lehigh. 7-20 versus Delaware.
That's not our topic. Get back to UConn.
No, I'm saying no. I'm on UConn.
Okay, I thought you were talking about Tufts.
Sorry. These are all UConn records against these teams. They're 9-20 against Holy Cross. That's Providence. They're 1-1 against Providence. I didn't even know Providence had a football team at one point.
You know, a lot of those teams in like the Big East and A10 have football teams, but they're like FCS or D2.
Yeah. Did not they're 0-2 against Delaware State. Shout out to the MEAC. 0-4 against Stevens Tech. Let's see here. Oh man, their record. Well, they probably played Yale a lot in the old days, so I'll give that one a pass. What's the one that stuck out to you so far?
Tufts or Holy Cross.
They played, the fact that they played Holy Cross so much and are 9-20 against them is just absolutely wild.
Yeah, I would say Holy Cross stands out the most.
Yeah.
So, Holy Cross, you are the winner of the Updog Sports Talk Wheel of Fortune.
Well done. Well done, Holy Cross.
Or we may have to rename that just in case there's a copyright like infringement thing there. Yeah, I don't have a food topic, so I guess that's the show.
I feel so bad for UConn because I was really hoping for there to be like a good one, like a team that they're surprisingly really good against. Man,
yeah,
it just didn't happen.
Pretty much only had Dan Orlovsky, and that was it.
Yeah, back when they had those, Aeropostale uniforms.
Yeah, you remember your dynasty with them, with UConn?
Yeah,
that was fun to follow along with.
I know. Yeah, I built into a power.
So funny story about UConn football. I think it was NCAA 08, college football 08, and I was Cincinnati. I didn't like the guy's name, and I don't know who the original person was, but I changed his name to James Vick because I was a big Michael Vick fan. So I changed his name to that, and then he balled out for me, but there was something I didn't do on the depth chart or something, and so he was like, "Oh no, my starter broke his jaw and was out the rest of the year." I didn't flip the depth chart around to have him be read as the starter. So, and this is before it just automatically put them as a starter. This is when it just looked to the next person in line. So had I flipped it, he probably would have been my starter, but he up and transferred to UConn and then just balled out. However many years later, Justin's like, you know what? I should do something with UConn. And I was like, I explained that story to him. So he created a quarterback named James Vick and had him ball out. As a
lived out the destiny that your dynasty beforehand had set. So far my funny UConn story. I was playing college football 25 the other day, and UConn made it to the Final Four of the college football playoff. So
On their own.
on their own, there was nothing I did to cause that. They just did it on their own, just suddenly rose to power and made the Final Four. Unfortunately, they did not maintain the momentum. I am in my current season with the Tulsa Golden Hurricane.
Yeah, but this is your
And
second overall season in the game, though, right?
yes,
So it's not like it's 20 years down the road when they had time to prepare for this.
right. No, yeah, this was like their current roster suddenly went like 11-1 out of nowhere and then reached the semifinals of the college football playoff, upsetting Kansas State and Oregon on the way.
And by the way, Kansas State is there's not an adjective that describes them in this game. They're like god tier when it comes to they just take over in my game.
Yeah.
I have done 3 dynasties and gotten like 10 years in on each, and they just take over.
Yeah. Kansas State's becoming a power of mine as well. They're always in the playoff race. I really never see them drop out of the top 10. They are definitely looking very good at mine as well. The other one that's been surprising this current season I'm in, number 1 right now is Georgia Tech.
Nice.
Who is undefeated.
It's always a good one to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember like the old games in like an NCAA 14, like Georgia Tech always rose to power.
Yeah, that was to do that without doing the triple option is fantastic.
Yeah, now they're just doing it on good O-line play.
Yeah. I got DJ Lagway to transfer to me at UTSA. I won the national championship, and he decided to stay for his final year. And he won the Heisman, and I'm about to go into his senior season with a whole head of steam. So I'm excited for that.
Nice. Meanwhile, breaking news, a 5-star quarterback, Levi Teague, made a surprising decision to come to Tulsa. Get ready. The Golden Hurricane are rising to the top.
You got to figure out how to stream that.
Yeah, likewise for you as well.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the show because we did NCAA football instead of food topic. But yeah. We'll see you guys next time. If you guys would be so kind to subscribe to our channel, like our pages on X/Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Threads. Our TikTok was down for like 12 hours and then got brought back by the president. So yeah, follow us on all of that. Feel free to comment. We do comment back. Yeah. So we'll catch you guys next time.
UConn was 2-6 in civil conflict.